How can this incompetent NDP Liberal government have no records on a decision that cost taxpayers $8 billion?
That sneaky weasel Justin Trudeau is up to it again. Welcome back to Moose and Loose. My name's David. Today's top stories. We've got digital ID. He's trying to slip in a dirty digital ID on Canadian tax-paying citizens. We've also got the CRA. The CRA wants to not only collect your taxes, they want to calculate your taxes, because that's not a conflict of interest, not at all. Got some other stories as well here, so let's jump into this. We've got some breaking news coming from Michelle Rempel-Gardner here, conservative. She's saying that Justin Trudeau is secretly working here to impose a digital ID on Canadians. This is something they're trying to slip through without actually putting this through the House.
This is a story that's just broken. It's just been posted by Blacklock's reporter, So
Blacklock's, they have a bunch of like really underground stories. It's a paid site. You have to pay hundreds of dollars a year to get access to their articles. It was actually found that the Liberals were sharing one access. They paid for one access and were just sharing it among each other, which is against the law. Little just side note.
The headline reads, Feds propose national digital ID. So I'm just going to read the first couple paragraphs of this article so that you can get a sense of what we're dealing with here. Federal regulators yesterday said that they are, quote, working to establish digital credentials for the public without parliamentary go-ahead. MPs have repeatedly rejected introduction of any national electronic digital ID systems as expensive and risky. And this is a quote from the article. With more businesses conducted online, the Government of Canada and interested partners need a common set of capabilities to enable people to issue, hold, and present these types of credentials to make trusted claims about themselves in a way that are user-friendly, blah, 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 said a notice to contractors by Shared Services Canada, the federal ID department. Any new system, and here's the kicker, any new system should allow regulators to revoke credentials, said the notice on the common set of capabilities for issuing and verifying digital credentials for the Government of Canada. It did not elaborate. The notice did not explain if enrollment would be mandatory. Is that in spite of, legislators saying, no, we can't do this. We can't do this. The Government of Canada, the Liberal government, is quietly going around talking about building a digital ID that's, quote, allow regulators to revoke credentials and did not explain if the enrollment would be mandatory. That's what we're dealing with Justin Trudeau. It's these hidden agendas where he's going out and saying, oh, no. We're not going to do these things. And then through the back door, through these sneaky little contract things, he's saying what his actual agenda is. So this goes all the way back to 2022. Here's Pierre Poilievre on his Twitter feed saying, government attempts to impose digital IDs and other intrusive tracking and surveillance message are an attack on our freedom. I will end them. So this is over 2 years ago now. He's had numerous public statements to this effect since then.
It's interesting. So with this forced digital ID, this almost goes in tandem with what's going on here with the CRA. So let's bring that up. So what we've recently had drop here from Taxpayer Federation, we got Franco Terrazzano here talking about how the CRA wants to be the one who not only collects your taxes, but also the one who calculates your taxes. Seems like a conflict of interest, a massive conflict of interest. Considering what's happened in the CRA this week, tens of thousands of taxpayer accounts hacked as CRA reportedly paid out millions in bogus refunds. It was like $190 million they paid out to scammers, essentially. I don't think the CRA should be in charge of taking the tax money.
Trudeau wants the Canada Revenue Agency to calculate and file your taxes, but you can't trust the CRA to do your tax refund. The CRA wants to squeeze every penny from you, and this government is broke. It's more than $1 trillion in debt, and the CRA is already bloated. The CRA has about 60,000 bureaucrats. In the US, the IRS has about 80,000 bureaucrats. So in Canada, there's one tax bureaucrat for every 700 citizens. In the US, there's one for every 4,000 citizens. And they're not even doing their job good. The CRA gave your tax dollars to hundreds of dead people during the pandemic. So when they mess up your tax refund, good luck getting them on the phone. Your accountant works for you. These broke government bureaucrats who want to squeeze every penny from you don't. You can help fight the CRA's tax grab by going to taxpayer.com, signing the petition, no automatic tax filing.
In theory, the automatic tax filing would make sense, except the government's corrupt, so it doesn't make sense. It makes sense for you to do your own taxes with your accountant or by yourself and then file it, so that way you know it's done correctly versus the CRA trying to rip you off. I mean, there were so many stories earlier in the year of people getting calls from the CRA demanding that they pay $10,000, $50,000, $80,000 when there was no need to pay any money. It's like the CRA didn't know what they were talking about and just sending out these requests to try stealing taxpayers' money. It's absolutely egregious. This is a big thumbs down. If you guys want to sign this, go to taxpayer.com. It's right on their main page there. But this ties directly into what we were talking about here with the digital ID with Michelle Rempel-Gardner. It's like automatic tax filing, have the digital ID. It's just they get full control over us. Trudeau and the Liberals don't exactly have a great track record here of ethical behavior. I can't see the Canadian population responding to this lightly.
Mr. Poilievre has, in fact, tweeted that those common sense conservatives will ban mandatory digital IDs, full stop. So he's got a link to his petition on his Twitter page. And of course, conservatives are fighting this. But you need to know about this, right? But this is not being reported on, right? And we know that Justin Trudeau's censorship bills prevent these types of stories.
So as it says here, legacy media is silent about this issue. You bet they are. They're not going to blow this stuff up. They get paid by Trudeau. It's only up to people like me here on YouTube to actually bring this stuff up. Simple way to stop this, quit funding it. Hold your taxes until this regime breaks enough. Let the tax revolt begin. That may happen this coming tax season here. Who knows? I already see a lot of people saying that. We need ID to purchase stuff online, but not to vote. You know, I was thinking about the whole voting thing because it seems very corrupt what happened here in British Columbia with the vote. The vote was so close and then suddenly the NDP win. Elon Musk has come out and said that the voting has to stick with counted by hand ballots to stay honest. That's what they do in Taiwan. They have a live cam and they count the ballots. They call it out. They hold it up. They pass it over. It gets put into the right pile. It's live streamed, the whole thing, so you can see if they're cheating or not. But what if voting was done with an online digital account, but it was done through the blockchain? So it had to be verified through the blockchain. And if you're not familiar with how the blockchain works, when you go to do a purchase, it has to get verified by numerous other different computers. You have like 100 or 200 different blockchain computers who all verify that it shows the exact same thing. And then once it's verified, it can go through. So you can't just have one computer try to sneak in an illegal thing. It has to be verified by 200 or whatever, 100 or 5,000 computers. I don't know how many it is, but it's a bunch. So voting should be the same thing. If you vote, then it verifies from other computers that that's what you're trying to vote and it puts your vote in. You can't have whoever trying to sneak in votes, trying to cheat the elections. Could voting not be done through the blockchain to verify that it's accurate? And it would also show, in the case of the BC election here, supervisors took boxes of ballots home and then they took them back the next day. Nothing stopped them from opening those boxes at night, pulling out a bunch of conservative votes, throwing them in the trash. But with a blockchain voting system, John Doe would be able to just log on to his account and see if his vote was tallied. With the current system, John Doe can't verify if somebody just tossed his vote in the garbage or if it's actually verified. But if on the blockchain, he knows it's verified because it shows it right there. The blockchain is significantly harder to hack. I don't know if it can be hacked at all, actually. Something to think about. To me, it seems like the only way that really makes sense, because they're using these machines to count ballots. They're allowing people to call in to tell them what they're voting. People are taking boxes of ballots home. And when you have an election down to like 20 votes in some places, like that's so easy to rig. In case of the supervisors who took these boxes of ballots home, there's no list of who these people are and what, political affiliation they are. Like, what if most of them were NDP supporters? Then did they all chuck out 50, 100 conservative votes each? And that's what swayed the election? Maybe. Who knows? Voting system needs to change. And you can see here, Trudeau wants a digital ID. They want to crack down with the CRA. They want full control. The only way to go digital if it's going through the blockchain where Trudeau or someone like Trudeau can't manipulate it. Next up, we got this one posted by Senator Don Plett. He's talking about $8 billion paid out to fraudulent CERB claims. It's just a different thing every day in this government. Like we had what was it, $190 million they paid out to fraudulent companies? And now we've got $8 billion in CERB claims.
Senator Gold, this NDP Liberal government expects Canadians to believe it has no documents which show who was responsible for decisions that led to almost $8 billion being paid out in fraudulent CERB claims. In July, we learned about CRA's response to an access to information request which sought the names of those who decided to limit the prepayment eligibility checks on CERB applicants. These routine checks could have rooted out the fraud, leader, The response from CRA said, and I quote, "We have no records pertaining to this request." No records. Leader, how is that possible? How can this incompetent NDP Liberal government have no records on a decision that cost taxpayers $8 billion? Incompetent.
Senator Gold.
Well, Senator, thank you again for raising this issue. The challenges that the CRA and that we as a country faced in getting help out to Canadians in a timely fashion when the pandemic struck us with such force and intensity are well known and have been much discussed in this chamber. I'm not aware of the record-keeping practices within the CRA, but the work that the government did through the CRA saved this economy and saved the lives and well-beings of hundreds of thousands, if not millions, of Canadian families. And yes, the design of the program was done with full knowledge that a certain price would be paid for getting the checks out faster than normal processes, and unfortunately, that has been the case.
Saying you're going to roll out a program because it'll be good for the country, but then doing it in a bad way that costs taxpayers a ton of extra money isn't a good thing. That's not a reasonable justification to. This guy's unbelievable.
Senator Platt.
Is ever the government's fault. If there are no documents about this horrendous mismanagement of $8 billion, then no one can be held responsible. No one can be fired. No accountability. Leader, is $8 billion, is this also gone for good? Just like the $190 million paid to hackers that I mentioned yesterday, Senator Gold? Yes or no?
That's Senator the one I just Gold? Mentioned.
I don't know, Senator Platt, how much money may or may not be recovered. I do know that every efforts are being made to make sure that problems with the system do not recur. And I have every confidence that that work is ongoing.
Yeah, right. The work is ongoing. These guys are just such liars. The shredders have been working overtime, likely were paid handsomely for it on the taxpayers' dime too. They get away with it because they can. We allow them to. Catherine McKenna should be in jail for misplacing $187 billion in infrastructure money that she hasn't been able to account for. Yeah, where is that money? There are documents, they just don't want the truth out. We're going to jump out of the house now. I got to show you guys this. So there's a thief comes in here with his pointy tool, and it turns out the shopkeeper had a pointy tool of her own. We're going to mute that weird space music, but here comes the guy. He's, doing the typical thing, looking around. Yeah, I'm going to buy something. Or wait a second, maybe I'll just dig in my pocket and pull out my pointy tool. So you can see here, he's starting to reach for his pointy tool, and he decides to share it with the shopkeep. So the shopkeep is down here in this corner, down here. You can't see, just wait for her. She comes out. He decides to put away his pointy tool because he realizes, uh-oh. You call that a knife? That's a knife. She's laughing about it. You see this? This is too funny. This is so cheeky. Sometimes these criminal stories in Canada do have a good ending. It's funny, the people's comments here. That's not a knife. It must be Dundee's daughter. Jumping over to my group here, let's see what memes we've got today. End of the road for electric cars. Shocking chart reveals how EV sales have slumped around the world, with Volkswagen, the last car maker, forced to close its factories as a result. Interesting. Yeah, you can see them dropping off, so it really peaked in the 2023 here. Electric vehicles are still cool technology. It maybe just needs to be mixed with other cars. I know Audi A3 e-tron or whatever it is, a mixed gas and electric, or maybe just mixing it with, say, the new hydrogen or whatever it is. So I don't think this technology is done, but it doesn't seem like it's going to be taking over mainstream just because the charging times are too long. There's issues with batteries and fires and crappy performance and cold weather. There's just some things that need to be sorted out. Mark Carney changed the fiscal rules to include the nation's assets. How convenient for Mark Carney, who is advising Trudeau to get his pockets lined with tax dollars, and Trudeau gave him all the power and none of the accountability. He should have to disclose, his assets and go through the whole business. He's protected. He gets all the benefits. Just know that the ones telling you to give up everything won't be giving up anything. Klaus Schwab. Penetrate the cabinet with a penetrate. Here it is, folks. It's the Diwali celebration in Walmart, Cambridge. The Festival of Lights, everyone. Somehow I don't think this is quite the Festival of Lights we were all picturing. Alrighty. Man struggling to feed his family, just happy he can fund 2 wars and 7 million asylum seekers with his taxes. There you have it. Do you think the CRA is going to accurately calculate your taxes for you before collecting it? I don't know. I don't think so. Considering how corrupt the government is, I think that's a bad idea. Digital ID, this has got to go. We have a corrupt government that isn't trustworthy. This is the last thing we need right now. We need to go analog. We need to go the other direction. This only works in a society where there's a blockchain that can verify things and it can't be manipulated by a lying weasel like Justin Trudeau. Digital ID has been rolled out across China and it's had consequences for those people. It's at the point now where if they jaywalk, their eyes get scanned, they have a digital score that gets removed off of their total score, and then it affects things like them being able to purchase things. It's absolutely ridiculous. It's a dystopian society we don't want here in Canada.